There are places on Earth that are protected not by nature, but by silence. Places where the official history doesn't match what's buried in the ground. We all know the Grand Canyon. It's America's most famous scar. Millions of tourists visit the rim every year, take photos, buy souvenirs, and leave. They look down into the red abyss and see only rocks and erosion. But they don't know that vast areas of the park are no-fly zones. They don't know that there are caves where entry is prohibited by federal law, guarded by steel gates and bureaucratic silence. What could be so dangerous in a hole in a cliff wall that it requires military intervention? The answer may lie in a yellowed newspaper headline dated April 5th, 1909. The Arizona Gazette published a story that should have changed the world, but instead, it disappeared. The headline read, "Explorations in Grand Canyon, Underground Citadel Found." The story tells the journey of G.E. Kincaid. He wasn't a tourist. He was an explorer funded by the Smithsonian Institution, descending the Colorado River alone in a wooden boat. Kincaid noticed strange sediments on the canyon wall, marks that seemed artificial. He landed and climbed the steep slope until he found an entrance. It wasn't a natural cave. It was a tunnel carved into solid rock with mathematical precision. Kincaid lit his lantern and entered. What he described in his report defies everything we know about North American history. He didn't find pottery from local native tribes. He found a metropolis. The main tunnel extended for more than a mile into the earth, branching into hundreds of passages like the spokes of a wheel. Kincaid found giant granaries filled with petrified seeds. He found metallurgy workshops with hardened copper, a technology that supposedly didn't exist on that continent. But the most shocking thing was in the Great Ceremonial Hall. There, in the deep darkness of Arizona, Kincaid found statues. They didn't look like anything from the Americas. They held lotus flowers. They had Oriental and Egyptian features. There were hieroglyphs carved on urns and walls, a complex script that linked that lost people to the pharaohs of the Nile and the empires of the East. Imagine the implications. If this were true, Columbus discovered nothing. Vikings weren't the first. An advanced civilization capable of crossing oceans and excavating mountains lived in the heart of America thousands of years before modern history began. Kincaid sent artifacts to Washington. The Smithsonian supposedly sent a larger team to investigate. And then, silence. If you call the Smithsonian Institution today and ask about G.E. Kincaid or about the Egyptian citadel of the Grand Canyon, they'll tell you they have no records. They'll say it's just a newspaper legend. But the 1909 records exist, the article exists, and the forbidden zones in the canyon are still there. Why close empty caves? Why prohibit drones and helicopters in specific areas where there's nothing to see? Maybe human history isn't a straight line of progress, but a puzzle where the most important pieces have been hidden under the rug. Maybe the Grand Canyon isn't just a geological wonder, but a tomb. The tomb of a story that would rewrite our identity, locked behind iron gates and denied by those who write the textbooks. What else is hidden in the red darkness of the American desert? What if the proof that we're not alone in history isn't in the stars, but beneath our feet? Look at the canyon again. Not as a tourist attraction, but as a crime scene. A place where evidence was found and then buried, where questions were asked and then silenced. The red walls stretch for miles, carved by millions of years of water and wind. But what carved the tunnels? What built the chambers? What civilization had the knowledge to navigate across oceans and settle in the most remote corner of a continent that wasn't supposed to be discovered yet? The 1909 article described rooms filled with weapons, copper spearheads, harder than anything the local tribes could produce, swords with strange engravings, shields decorated with symbols that matched nothing in the archaeological record of North America. But they matched something else. They matched the symbols found in temples along the Yangtze River. They matched hieroglyphs from the tombs of Egyptian nobles. They matched a global civilization that our history books say never existed. Kincaid reported finding mummies, not wrapped in the style of the Southwest tribes, but in linen, preserved with techniques identical to those used in the Valley of the Kings. The bodies were tall, with features that didn't match the native populations. They were stored in tiers, like a library of the dead, each one catalogued with copper tablets bearing inscriptions no one could read. The Smithsonian took everything: crates of artifacts, photographs, Kincaid's detailed maps showing the exact location of the entrance. And then they issued a statement saying none of it existed. No expedition, no explorer named Kincaid in their records, no Egyptian city in Arizona. Just a hoax, a sensational newspaper story designed to sell copies. But here's the problem with that explanation. The Arizona Gazette wasn't a tabloid. It was a respected regional newspaper. And the article wasn't written like fiction. It included specific geographical coordinates. It named Smithsonian officials by title. It described artifacts with technical precision. If it was a hoax, it was the most elaborate and pointless hoax in journalistic history. And then there are the restricted zones. Large sections of the Grand Canyon are off limits to the public, not because of endangered species, not because of unstable rock formations. The National Park Service simply says, access denied, without explanation. Helicopter tours are required to avoid certain corridors. Hikers who wander into prohibited areas are escorted out by rangers who refuse to answer questions. Drones are shot down. Climbers are arrested. What are they protecting? If there's nothing there, why the security? Why the silence? Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe the discovery of an advanced pre-Columbian civilization in America would destroy too many comfortable narratives. It would mean our textbooks are wrong. It would mean the story of human migration and development is incomplete. It would mean powerful institutions have been lying for over a century. And maybe, just maybe, it would mean we're not the first advanced civilization to rise and fall on this planet. The Grand Canyon is 446 kilometers long. It's 29 kilometers wide at its broadest point. It's over 1,800 meters deep in places. Millions of tons of red rock carved over 6 million years. And somewhere in that vast labyrinth of stone, there's a door. A door that was opened in 1909 and then sealed shut. A door that leads to a truth someone decided we're not ready to know. So the next time you stand at the rim and look down into that ancient wound in the earth, ask yourself, what else is down there? What other secrets are buried in the darkness, guarded by silence and steel? And if they're willing to hide an entire lost civilization, what else are they hiding? The red walls hold their secrets well, but secrets have a way of surfacing. The ice melts, the stone erodes. And one day, someone will find that door again. The question is, will we be ready for what's on the other side? Or will we do what we always do when faced with uncomfortable truths? Look away, change the subject, and pretend the Grand Canyon is just a pretty hole in the ground.